From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. The whole crew over here at Stuff They Want You to Know is always fascinated with the hidden aspects of the world. And if you live in a city of any size, as we've discussed in the past, there are most certainly places that the average person doesn't know about. Seemingly innocuous buildings. We did a whole series on these in New York for a previous live tour. This was in response to our restricted zones episode. Would you guys like to go there? This story is a little close to home for us.
Take me to the zone, Ben.
Take me to the hole.
Let's go. We're going to do it with some help from our pal Thomas T. Thomas, you wrote the following. Hey guys, longtime listener, love the content. I know you all have covered bunkers before, but not sure if you have ever covered the Big Hole in NC, North Carolina. It's an AT&T facility built in the 60s. This sounds kind of familiar already, right guys? in a rural area outside of Chapel Hill. It is supposedly, according to Thomas, 13 stories deep with blast-proof ceilings, floors coated in copper, across 200 acres with fencing, guard gate, vehicle barriers, all the hits. Originally constructed as part of the government's plan for communication continuity post-nuclear / EPM blast via the Otto Von switching network. Thomas goes on to say there are multiple sites such as this one throughout the U.S. I just happen to be from the general area and clearly have an affinity for all things strange. And Thomas goes on to say it's possible that technology made this communication obsolete, but he also asks, well, what about the rise in hacking and cyber warfare events lately? Is that why the facility is still being kept up? Or are these sites just used to house expensive communication equipment? All the toilet paper we couldn't find during COVID, are they used as high-level government fallout shelters? Is there something more sinister? And Noel, this is where Thomas points out something I thought was fascinating. The site was apparently shut down or shuttered, mothballed in 2008, but right before it shut down, the rumor has it that the facility had a $61 million upgrade right before it was closed. Sketchy. That's sketchy, right?
Yeah. What's up with that?
Yeah, I'd love to know if it's just been shuttered, it's still government land. Mm-hmm. I highly doubt anyone can just, stroll around and take a gander at it. But, how much? 64 million?
61 million.
$60 million. Dropped it into the big hole. It's just a safe now. That's what it is. Mm-hmm.
And Thomas, you had asked us to take a deep dive on this and related facilities, and there very well could be a very deep rabbit hole here, even more than 13 stories deep, because what this is something known as a project office. And remember, folks, it's the position of our show that if you find a government agency that has a really innocuous name, the odds of them being up to something are higher than normal. You know what I mean? Like the more innocuous the name, sketchier.
It's the same with government operations too, right? Like Operation Sunshine Picnic Party. Mm-hmm. That is probably some sinister shit.
Mm-hmm. Like Operation Fresh Pies and Fuzzy Hugs is all about stealing eyeballs.
Operation Freshly Cut Grass.
Yes. We should just make a list. We'll accidentally stumble across a real one, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm certain.
So a project office is it's kind of an umbrella term for these facilities that were made by AT&T in the middle of the 20th century to house these ongoing secret projects in collaboration with the government. They're not necessarily bad things, but there are a lot more out there than many people are aware of. They've been building these since the 1960s. And as we discussed in our episode on the Long Lines building, whenever we mentioned it there in the middle of Manhattan, AT&T has never officially said what they do in these facilities. They have vague descriptions. Like I kid you not, one of their descriptions, if you ask them, "Hey, what's a project office?" then they'll say, "Oh, those are central facilities." Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
And communication hubs.
And then in fine print, it says "mind your own beeswax." You know.
Yes, just so. Yeah. So the one that Thomas is talking about specifically is a project office located in North Carolina, just 11 miles south of Chapel Hill. And a lot of people in North Carolina, apparently, according to the story, don't even know this exists. If you can see some aerial photographs of the building, let me send these to you guys in the chat. Here you go.
I'm looking at it on this website, only in your state.
Mm-hmm. That's the one. And you can get like some on the ground pictures of the turnoff toward this facility. You guys, when you're looking at, I'd love to hear what you think when you're looking at the overhead satellite images. What do you see? Does it seem suspicious, or does it just seem like any other place?
This is what I see. A ton of trees, just forest. And then out of that forest, someone has taken a giant God-sized lawnmower and just cut an interesting little shape into that forest. And in there, I see 2 buildings and some street.
Yeah, Operation Freshly Cut Grass.
There it is. Yeah,
it's crazy. It looks like a weird plankton or something. Like the shape of it that it's cut out is very odd. It definitely, I mean, what do you think I see there's obviously a road, an access road, like one very skinny access road leading up to it. It looks like a giant tennis court kind of actually from the aerial view.
Yeah. And I think that's astute. This is one of those places where it feels like, and this is entirely my speculation, they found a Goldilocks zone, right? They're able to collate and collect data that's coming from Chapel Hill, right, as well as many other places, but they're far enough away that if you are driving there and the area is, if it wasn't shuttered, then the guards would have more than ample time to see you coming. That's part of the design, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the old Area 51 thing, right?
It is. Don't go to Area 51. Folks, again, I feel like we have to say this every time we bring this up. The government is legally allowed to kill you. They will typically give you a warning, but if you persist, I'm not saying they will. I'm saying they can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're supposed to shoot to wound, but things happen.
Well, they can see you from a long, long way away, which is the whole point of bringing it up here.
Yeah, and we know this firsthand because we've got a friend of the show who actually went up to Area 51 and didn't violate the trespassing stuff, but he got close to some of the signs. And then he has a terrifying story of what happened afterwards, but he's fine. He made it. This kind of situation is something that you could find yourself in very easily and perhaps by accident, as unbelievable as that may seem. So people typically believe that this is all speculation, but people typically believe that this is a part of the NSA's mass surveillance hub. Like the AT&T building, the windowless building in Manhattan, has long been suspected to be the HQ for something called Titan Point. So it could definitely be something like that here.
So the idea, the term long lines, I know when we did that story, or actually it was part of a live show, I think, about that windowless building in Manhattan, we called it the AT&T long lines building, but I think long lines is more of a generic term. So like this is what they would call a long lines hut. that's on this piece of property, and it's because it houses very sensitive data and connections, even, I think, and so it needs to be blast proof in order to prevent massive communication outages. Correct?
Yeah, that's part of it. It doesn't. It's not. It doesn't specifically have to be something military. It could just be protecting the communication structure. But you are absolutely correct. There are many more huts like this out there, and one of the most interesting things about this is that it's tough to know for sure whether it actually is closed, and it may have been. It could have been sold. We simply don't know. That's what would make sense to me if there were a massive upgrade, because it's kind of like, you fix up your house before you sell it, right? So maybe something like that. I'm trying to err on the side of caution by, and not get too carried away saying pointing out the badger in the bag here, which is that you cannot trust the government when it comes to spying. I'm working on this, guys, but I always start off with a baseline like, yeah, they're doing it for spying.
Yeah,
that's not always the case.
Sort of the name of the spying game. There's not a whole lot of trust between spies, But this is a question for both of you. How in bed do you think AT&T and massive telecom companies like them are with the government?
Well, allegedly, and I don't know if you guys recall this from that Long Lines discussion we had. Allegedly, the Long Lines building is where the NSA essentially spliced into all of AT&T's traffic and then doubled it, essentially. And that was a long time ago. That's allegedly what happened, according to, whistleblowers. But you'd have to think, because of the history of AT&T and the United States government with things like this, and the Autobahn network, which was the Cold War thing that was supposed to maintain the continuity of government if a nuclear blast occurred. You'd think that they're working pretty closely together, and who knows how that's changed with the NSA's rise to, I don't know, domestic surveillance power.
Yes. Yeah, that's the question. We also, we just don't have a lot of visibility on this. And Thomas, you're absolutely right that very few people are aware of not just the big hole, but also largely unaware of the existence of these facilities in general. Just to add some more conspiratorial spice to the story about whether or not this is closed down. This is kind of Schrodinger's hole at this point. Local media at the time noted that in 2008, there were multiple convoys of trucks that were moving stuff away from the site over the course of several weeks. And specifically, I'm thinking of the Charlotte Observer, which in 2008 released a piece called "Mysterious Cold War Bunker Closes." And this is where you get a little bit of a glimpse into the local speculation about this, because people, locals knew about this and they were saying, well, I bet it's missiles. And then, of course, there's someone saying, I bet it's UFOs. And there are other people who are just saying, I don't know what's going on in there. But as a citizen of the U.S., I'm sure paying for part of it. This bunker, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like it's necessary, but also, guys, it feels like if you spend that much money building something like this, are you really just going to abandon it?
No. And no, you're not. You honestly aren't, especially because of what it can do or what it was designed to do. According to War History Online, who knows how reliable the information is here, but according to this site, these bunkers were created for that Autobahn system, the automatic voice network system, which was installed in the 60s. And there were hubs all over the place across the United States, and these specific places, allegedly, I don't have this information airtight, but allegedly these bunkers were the primary hubs for this system. Again, in the case that the Soviet Union or another power is able to detonate a nuke in Washington or one of the other, central areas of power within the United States, these things would continue communications via all these hubs, these other hubs. And I don't see why you would shut that off, man.
Real life bat phones. Like, they were even red.
Yes. I mean, it really is an emergency system, and I can't imagine completely shutting it down unless there's and there probably is, a fully functional, much better system that costs less money from a facility standpoint.
But isn't there, though? I mean, these were all built pre-fiber optics, right? Like, so this would have been like what's called trunking technology, or like these massive bundles of these interconnected networks between switchboards, essentially. And so, I mean, there is a better technology, right?
Well, yeah, but if you've already got the land, you've already got, a secure as hell facility like this underground, like it says, a skyscraper just pointed down. I don't know. It feels like you could make use of that space.
Oh, 100%. It's not for the original intended purpose, perhaps, but it's also. Didn't we talk about how, like, wouldn't execs they would go there in the event of some sort of nuclear fallout, and there was like ping pong and stuff. Like they had like amenities in the Long Lines building in Manhattan anyway.
Yeah, that's another important aspect, because what we know about these facilities does seem to indicate the possibility of housing people in emergency situations. And we know that the U.S. government does have federally funded facilities of that nature for members of Congress and so on, because they need to ensure the continuity of government if bombs start falling, which, of course, we hope never happens. I want to point out, though, Matt and Noel, you're onto something here, because in the 1990s, the U.S. government did switch from Audubon to something called the Defense Switched Network, which I believe is still in use today. And so it's completely possible that when Audubon went out of vogue, that there was a decision made just to shut it down. And this is something we can explore in depth in the future. But just to wrap this up, want to let everybody in North Carolina know that Thomas' story is completely true as far as we can tell. Thank you for letting us know, Thomas. And the building is creepy because if you drive up there now, you'll see the gates are still locked. The fences stand. There are cameras. But the intercom system is disconnected, and there's no one manning the guard booth, as far as we know. Your mileage may vary. Stay safe out there. Let us know if there are any creepy restricted zones in your neck of the global woods.